committee at 6:10 p.m. due notice having been posted. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions may be made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I'll do a roll call of members present. Ms. Ferreira?
Present.
Mr. Machado?
Present.
Ms. O'Brien?
Present.
Ms. Ashley?
Present and participating remotely.
And the chair is present. Mr. Vieira?
Present.
And also with us this evening, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jeffrey Schoonover, our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Raquel Pellerin, our Director of Curriculum and Technology Wizard, Ms. Elizabeth Haskell, our Director of Special Education, Ms. Megan Ashton, our Principal, Dr. Brailsford, and our Recording Secretary, Robin Vaccaro. Could you please stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please note that the next regularly scheduled meeting of this committee will be held on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here in the Somerset Berkeley Regional High School Library. And please note that this will include the preliminary budget hearing for fiscal year 26. The first item on tonight's agenda under student teaching and learning is an update from our student representative, Mr. Vieira.
All right, good evening, everyone. So just to touch on a couple different things, so starting with athletics. So the boys basketball team has a game this Friday, and for tomorrow, the boys ice hockey game, that's their senior night. So that'll be a popular game, so I'm looking forward to that. That's at 6 o'clock home versus Old Rochester. And then tomorrow also the wrestling team has a match at Durfee, also here. Regarding performing arts, the show choir group had a competition last Saturday where they were able to take home a couple medals, so that was good for them. And then the drama department has been working hard in preparation for the Addams Family musical, which will be happening in April, so they've been working hard for that. And then to touch a little bit upon clubs and events around the school, so DECA districts, which happened last month, a couple students placed for progression onto the states, so that state competition is going to happen this week. Regarding the international trip to Costa Rica, students leave this Friday bright and early. I think their flight is at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday, so we wish them safe and enjoyable trip. And then regarding the Science Olympiad team, they will be traveling to Wentworth Institute of Technology, and that's the beginning of next month. And that group is essentially competes in a wide range of different environmental, chemistry, and a wide range of topics. So we wish them luck. And then lastly, a group called HOSA, which is the Future Health Professionals, this week and next week are working to prepare for their exams, along with putting together projects, whether it's posters or skill videos that they're going to submit to hopefully move on to the state competition. I think that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, good things. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is the recognition for our January visionaries. The committee would like to recognize Elza Bergelet Payton, Resilient, Logan Blake, Digital Citizen, Louise Queso, Empathetic, Layla Kelsey, Empathetic, Michael Make It, Academic, Angelina Pena, Independent, Love St. Jean, Respectful, and Olivia Souza, Respectful. Congratulations to those students for their good work. The next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the DECA trip to Boston that Mr. Vieira just mentioned, which is scheduled for February 27th through March 1st. There's information in your packet. Does anyone have any questions?
No, the only question, how many students? I know we mentioned 2 students are how many?
I think, no, it's a couple more. I think it's about 15.
Is that right?
15.
13 students.
13 students.
And
13?
2 chaperones?
And
2 chaperones.
How are they getting up there? Are we taking them up on our vans, or are they going on a school bus, or?
I believe Mr. Rosario was taking them.
Okay. All right, so someone will drop them off and 2 days later pick them up?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the DECA trip to Boston for February 27th through March 1st, 2025 for the state conference.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Machado and seconded by Ms. Ferrero. Anything further on discussion? We're going to do roll call votes because of Ms. Ashley. Let's see. Ms. Ferrero.
Aye.
Mr. Machado.
Aye.
Ms. O'Brien.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Ms. Ashley.
Aye.
All right, so move. The next item on the agenda this evening under business and financial is the January financial statement. Ms. Peller.
Not much going on in the world of finance these days. But with regards to our financial statement, we're continuing to look, and I've been working closely with the high school principal to make sure that all our expenses from now to the end of the year are covered. They're priority based. We're looking at accelerating our replacement plans, and hopefully in the next month or so, we'll come back with budget amendments. We've just shifted our focus a little bit to preparing the budget for next year.
Does anyone have any questions? Ms. Ashley, do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the budget subcommittee. The budget subcommittee met this afternoon at 4 o'clock, where we reviewed a range of items. Folks are working very hard to try to develop a budget that meets the needs of our students and also reflects our financial reality. One of the items that sort of was mentioned, and just want to make sure everyone here is aware, is that estimates for insurance may be higher than we anticipated. I don't know, Mr. Schoonover, do you want to just mention sort of what you heard?
Sure. Mr. Yulich and I had a conversation earlier today where he was, the insurance trust, they don't have another meeting, their next meeting is scheduled, I think, on February 24th. But the information that he has is really based on what other communities around us in Bristol County are experiencing for increases. And he was saying that the average increase appears to be in the 10 to 15% range. Which is higher than we originally anticipated, more than double than we had anticipated. But hopefully we'll have some more information at the end of this month when that group meets on the 24th.
The subcommittee this afternoon reviewed in detail and with much help from Ms. Ashley, the technology budget, really going through and trying to look at every line item to determine, if cuts need to be made, we always prefer to cut things rather than people. So that is being scrutinized carefully, and Ms. Haskell is helping us out by looking at the usage of various apps and software and all that stuff. So we are also awaiting some more information on class size informed by student course selections, which is really in process right now. So we're hoping that we'll have more reliable information on that soon. We did go ahead, looking at the timeline, we went and scheduled another meeting. We originally did not have a meeting for next week, but we know that there's still work to do, so we've scheduled another budget subcommittee meeting for next Tuesday morning. We will do that via Zoom, the school vacation week, and so we will post a Zoom link. And then there's one more subcommittee meeting prior to the preliminary budget meeting, so folks are working very hard, and we're not there yet, but I wanna thank everyone, for all the work that we're doing. It's not easy. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you touched on everything.
For Miss Ashley, is there anything you wanted to add in terms of a budget subcommittee update?
I don't have anything specific to add at this time. I think that Ms. Andrews did a great job summarizing where we are in the budget process and where we're working towards. So hopefully at our next meeting, we'll have all the details and be able to fill in all the missing pieces of information for you so that we can make an informed decision as a committee.
So if I could just ask a couple of questions. I know that on the 25th, we're going to be taking a vote on the preliminary budget, but I do have an invite for the health, but that isn't, on my calendar, I have the 27th of February.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, how are we going to set a preliminary budget when we don't know exactly what's happening with our health? At least I won't know until the 27th unless what we're going to be voting on. And I'm very new to this committee, and I don't know how the interacting goes with this committee. I know I'm one of 5 members, but we're about to vote on something where we don't know what the effect is. So I'm just wondering, should we move that meeting, or can we move that meeting? Because of a 10% increases on the insurance costs might be a budget breaker. That could be a percentage or whatever it may be.
I'm wondering if we could, I think we talked about sort of putting in a placeholder for not a worst case scenario, certainly a bad case scenario. And correct me if I'm wrong, but on the process, we could do that as part of the preliminary budget presentation, the placeholder, knowing that a few days later, we may have an actual number, but then we could adjust that in between the preliminary, the public hearing,
So
and the
public hearing,
final.
That's fine. So my question is, if Mr. Walucci is saying, what was the average between 10 and
10
what?
and 15.
I would say, let's do the worst case, because we cannot increase the preliminary budget, I don't believe, but at least we know we can decrease it. So I just I want to make sure that we're prepared for something that won't bite us at the end. And the other thing I appreciate, I did download obviously all the documents. Robin, thank you for placing them, or Raquel placing them on the shared drive. I'm starting to opening them up real closely. The only thing is, what's concerning me is that I'm seeing, like, let's just say the first one that I'm just looking, because it happens to be highlighted on my computer, new staff request. I know there are 4 to be determined, two of them are to be determined, and 2 have a price. I don't know what discussions you've had in your budget hearings. I'm just wondering, are there notes that you can share with us, like in detail, when you're looking through, because we're getting a very high level, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to come into a meeting the 26th, and ask questions that's really going to throw a wrench in all the gears that seems to be running really smooth. Because we do have a very high number that we have to lower, and I'm sure you're all working on it very closely, but I just don't want to be I don't want to come into that meeting hearing the preliminary budget the first time and I have to take an action on it. So I'm just wondering, perhaps maybe it might be wise that your next budget hearing be also a school committee meeting, so we can all log in if we want, so we're hearing it the way you are, so no one's going to be surprised or seeing something for the first time on the 25th. So that's my recommendation.
I wonder too, Mr. Machado, if what might be helpful, I think in the past, we've sometimes had a document that Mr. Tara would prepare, which would be, because if you're going back to the earliest thing in the folder, right? So he would often have where we started, like a column, particularly as it relates to staffing requests, and then where we each iteration and where we moved to. And that, I think, might be helpful as well, right? So if there's because if some of those things have been dropped, right? Especially if you start from oldest to newest, that is gonna be difficult to discern.
Yep.
So maybe we can create
A running sheet type of thing.
basically a running sheet, with, would that, I think we've done that in the past, and I know that's helpful to track, basically track the changes, the requests.
Ms. Andrews, and I don't know, I don't wanna, come up the works here, but with what Mr. Machado was just saying about that insurance meeting on the Thursday, the 27th, I'm assuming this,
I think that's,
usually, it used to be in the morning, right? I thought he said the 24th, but he must have said the 27th.
I have the 27th at 2:30.
Okay. Would it, and getting back to the budget subcommittee meeting that we just had a little while ago, we're trying to determine, we had our next budget meeting was scheduled for that afternoon, and then just as soon as that meeting ends, we'd be presenting the preliminary budget. Would it make sense to maintain the budget meeting on the 25th, but shift the preliminary budget presentation to the 27th? I know that's really a difficult week because you have your Board of Selectmen meeting, I think earlier that week. Somerset School Committee meetings is on the Wednesday already. I just don't know if that would make more sense, or if that would just make it worse.
And I know we had a hold on the 27th for the interviews already, so maybe everybody still has that block of time open, because that's where the 27th was the original hold for the interviews.
I'm just looking at my calendar, I'm not doing anything. So I just wanna make sure I understand the suggestion.
Move it from the 25th to the 27th.
Move the
Basically,
preliminary
it
budget,
gives 48 hours between the budget meeting on Tuesday, the 25th, and the presentation to the 27th, which would also allow Mr. Machado to get us information about health
Earlier
insurance.
that day.
It would be a quick turnaround between that meeting time and the presentation that night, but at least we may have real information. If we don't, then we would have the placeholder of 15% or so.
that, assuming that's the only variable, it's a quick turnaround, but
Right.
to one number. I'm not as familiar with the health insurance subcommittee. Is the expectation we will know the number on the 27th?
This is my first meeting.
I don't.
Yep.
My guess is we still won't know the number then. We might have more information at that point. And I was just going back to, I know, last year even when Mr. Festermaker was the school department's representative, the information wasn't coming in, I'd say until later in March, if not April. Like it was
Oh,
late.
really?
It was late in the timeframe last year when
feel like
we
it's-
actually got the insurance numbers.
I tend to push buttons a little quicker though.
I mean, I'm available on, if there's a benefit to the extra 2 days, I'm available on the 27th, I can do that, I don't know about everyone else. But I think we know that we might not actually have a number, so are we gonna move it and still not know, but there may be some other value in just having a little space between this budget subcommittee meeting on the 25th and the 27th, but I also wanna be aware of evening meeting commitments for all of you, so I guess, I don't know what the wishes of the committee are, I could go either way. I can live with the placeholder, because we know we're probably not gonna know the answer, or we can hope in 2 days clarity, is upon us.
I'm not really, just knowing that you're having a budget hearing on the 25th prior to the 25th hearing, or our vote, I'm more concerned about that, because if you take any drastic changes in that meeting, that only gives like a 15-minute window to have a real official copy for us to actually view.
Right, yeah, we
So-
talked about that today,
so-
which is why we added a meeting next week,
Yeah.
but,
So I would say, let's see how that meeting goes first. I would see how your meeting goes next week. If it goes well, and you don't feel like you're gonna need a real serious budget hearing the following week on the 25th, because that still gives Robin 48 hours to change the date of the meeting. So I'm fine either way. I'm available on the 27th as well because it was that block was moved on my calendar. So I'm fine. Whichever one works best for all of you.
Kylie, do you have a?
I can do either, because it was still, I loved it.
You loved it
That
much.
whole week was bouncing, so I loved it.
Would it make sense, not to be wishy-washy, would it make sense if the committee hold that date, the 27th? And maybe after we meet on
The 18th.
next week, whenever that is, sorry.
Yep.
After we might have a better sense of whether we want to push it the 2 days or not, for other reasons, not just the health insurance fee. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, good idea. Thank you, Mr. Scalabro. All right, so we're gonna hold, 2/27, 6 PM. As a possible, and then change prelim. Budget. Okay.
And I want to apologize in advance to Mr. Schoonover because if he's like me, we always say we're going to try to limit him to 2 meetings a
Yeah,
week, but that meeting, unfortunately,
that's-
you're going to have 4
it's a
meetings, so I
special-
apologize
No,
in advance.
It's all your fault.
it's understandable the time of the year.
I see a lot of red on my calendar.
Okay, great. Anything else on budget subcommittee update? Okay, fabulous. And truly, folks are working really, really hard, and we appreciate it. The next item on the agenda under unfinished business is an update on interviews with the Board of Selectmen to fill the vacancy on the school committee. Ms. Vaccaro and I have been in touch with Mr. Souza, and today we were able to confirm, and I want to thank everyone for their flexibility. The Board of Selectmen have a ton of meetings this time of year as well, so we're trying to work together. So we have agreed on the, help me remember, 24th at 5, and we're gonna meet here in this library in a joint meeting with them to interview the candidates. And then we will have discussion and a vote at that time. I did share, folks collaborated to develop questions. And, you know, we are fortunate that we were worried we wouldn't get even one applicant, and we're really fortunate that we have several, which is wonderful. We appreciate everyone's interest. And so I think we developed, I shared with everyone, I think it's 5 questions. We may not get up to all of them, they might be in order of importance, but if everyone is okay with them, I think Raman shared them, or is going to share them out with the Board of Selectmen.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are with that process. Obviously, it's gonna be a short appointment. There's not a lot of time between that date and the Somerset Town election, but that is the process outlined in the regional agreement, so that's what we will do. Did I forget anything important, Raman?
Nope.
Great, okay. The next item on the agenda is the update on the baseball field improvement project timeline.
Right, just a brief update. Last week, Activist was here, and that's the vendor who is working with us to manage this work. But we had the site visit for potential bidders, and there were three companies came for that on-site visit. And the bids will be opened next week. I think it's on the 20th. So at that point, we will know, at the next time the committee meets, we should know who the winning bid is. Okay, and everything is on track for work beginning as soon as the spring season is over and being ready for next year.
Anyone have any questions? Great. We'll be happy when that gets, when
Done.
shovels and whatever happens, great. The next item on the agenda under new business is to discuss and act on support for the Reed's collaborative purchase of a building for the deaf and hard of hearing program.
Okay, so you have in your folder a letter from the executive director of Reed's Collaborative, Dean Medeiros, explaining really what has transpired and really what the goal is. So Reed's offers a number of programs. They really specialize in deaf and hard of hearing. And they have a program that is housed in different schools, but primarily Norton has been the host school district for these. And Norton is a growing school community, and they are at the point where they need the space where the Reed's program is currently housed. After really trying to find spaces in the member districts, Reed's no district has the space available for the number of classrooms that Reed's requires for their DHH. So they are looking to purchase a building actually in Norton, in very close proximity to the elementary school and the middle school where a lot of these programs are housed. So this would allow Reed's to offer programs on this in this small campus building and get quick transportation to the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, so that they can continue. Students will still have access to the general curriculum, access to those school and their programs. So with this, in order to purchase the building, Reed's would be increasing their DHH tuition, so only for those students who are part of the deaf and hard of hearing program. There would be roughly a $7,000 per student increase in the tuition for next year. Somerset Berkeley does not have any students currently participating in the DHH program. Somerset does have 2 students, but not Somerset Berkeley. So really the annual cost for that is coming from increasing tuitions. And they're really just looking for, have an understanding of, are the member school districts, school committees in favor? Would you support going down this path and purchasing this building?
Thank you for that explanation. Other questions?
Well, I read the memo that was sent by the executive director. One, I didn't see the 7,000, because that was my first question today. How much was it going to be? But the other question I would like to know is how much is this piece of property? Because I understand, at this day and age, there are so many office buildings that are vacant. Does it make sense to purchase or lease something or enter into a rent agreement? I know it doesn't affect Somerset Berkeley or Somerset at this moment, but I'm just wondering, are they making the correct decision? Have they looked at leasing property or office space versus purchasing?
So I can't answer the purchasing versus the lease thing. The one thing I can say is location will be important for them based on the inclusion opportunities. I mean, I know the students that we have there, it's very important for them to access the grade level classes. So wherever, whether they purchase or lease, I think it will be important to be near a school that's going to allow them the access to the inclusion opportunities.
And so we do have students in the K.
We do.
We have 2 currently.
So we do. So it would be a $14,000 increase, which, it is what it is, that type of thing. It's one of those things, those students need those services, and obviously reading their letter, they really do need the room. And obviously, we saw how South Coast Collaborative had to find another location when we built a new middle school. But I'm just curious to see if they had looked at versus lease. And I understand they're looking at Norton because they're probably familiar with Norton School Department, but have they checked other local school districts and buildings? That would be my only concern. I'm not going to, I don't know enough to vote yes or no, so I'm going to abstain, but I'm just wondering if you knew any other information, so.
I'm seeing if I have any information regarding the price of the,
Because if they're fortunate to find a building like Wilbur School that we sold for $155,000 or whatever it was, then it's a no-brainer, but.
To Victor's point, if I could chime in, I was kind of also thinking with having to fix old buildings, right? And the maintenance, you know, like I also have concerns about buying a property. There's a huge difference between buying and leasing. So I just would want to be reassured that they've explored a leasing or a rental option, because circumstances in school districts could change in future years. This could be temporary. That's the other thing. Purchasing a building is very permanent, and then you own all the problems. So.
Yeah, the information I have here, it would be a 5-year mortgage for $1.2 million. So it is between the annual mortgage cost of roughly $282,000, utilities, phone, internet, the minibus lease to transport students back and forth, and some other fees for services here. It's roughly $405,000 and an annual cost for the 5 years until it would be owned. And then, as I said, that would the cost for that is going from the tuition.
See, if I may, in hearing that they're trying to pay it off in a 5-year
Yes.
lease, like why aren't they looking at it, dragging it out? Like most people, when they purchase property, you know, this tax, you know, reasons, or that's another thing. Why are you trying to pay a 1.6 million when even when we try to make a loan, we're trying to spread it out for multiple years? It just seems, and I would rather see a smaller increase for those that are being affected by it than, and I didn't even think of the maintenance piece yet, because they may have to retrofit the building as well, for all we know. So I think I just need more information. But again, those were my concerns when I read this letter. I didn't have any pricing on it, and I'm learning more now than I did a couple of hours ago when I read the letter.
In terms of timeliness for this item, do they need our vote at this meeting? Or
No, we can wait.
could we maybe just get a little, I know that financial impact to us is minimal, but I think it sounds like members of the committee have some questions that could probably be answered without too much trouble, so perhaps, I don't know what the wishes of the committee are, but we could move this to a future agenda.
I'd be fine with that.
Ms. Ashley, would that work for you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Sorry, I was just suggesting that it sounds like there's some questions that committee members have that might be, you know, answered, and perhaps we move this to, you know, the next regular meeting. As long as they don't need an answer from us right now.
Yeah, and if questions that I'm looking for, why 5-year mortgage? What are their plans for maintenance? Is the building already retrofit for the classrooms? Are there going to be more you know, remodeling? You know, those are the ones. And did they even look at the option for a lease or renting space? Because what happens if their numbers decrease? And what is it currently for one of our students to go there in a K-8, just out of curiosity?
If it's on that letter, I believe it's,
On the letter?
I believe it's gonna be 74, the increase for next year. I'd have to open up the letter.
See, that's a 10% increase. That's big, you know, so.
Yeah, so it depends on the level of services. The students who are attending this program have an average tuition of about $90,000.
Yeah, so I would be more favorable if they would spread it out for a 10-year lease, mortgage payments, just to drop it a bit. And I understand it's going to incur more interest, but thinking how all the communities are struggling right now, I have to, you know, just think of the long picture, but.
Forgive me if this is a dumb question, but I'm also wondering, the increase to tuition would be, so for the upcoming year, a $7,000 increase in tuition per student. And then annually thereafter, the increases are just as a percentage, like they would
So
normally
Then
calculate?
it would, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not 7,000 and 7,000
No,
and
because
7,000.
that's already, the 7,000 was already built on to the 4% increase in their budget for this year.
Okay,
All the tuitions are, I think it was 4%, is that right?
Yeah, so like the proposed tuition rate without the increase would be, like, their tuition would be 75,000. Then there's the typical increase, and then, so with the tuition costs and the building purchase, it would be a 14,000 increase. So like Jeff said, about 90,000.
okay, all right, that makes sense, thank you. I need a motion to not, no, we're just gonna,
Tape.
we're gonna table that until the next meeting.
May I just ask if, so I wrote down your questions, Mr. Machado, but if anyone else has questions that you would want me to prepare to send to them, if, and I could see us even, I could see the other member districts having similar questions, so we might just generate an FAQ list that we can ultimately share with all of the school committees. So if any of you have questions besides what Mr. Machado said, send them my way if you don't mind, and I'll share them with Reed's, and maybe we can develop a shared document.
Great,
Okay,
thank you, thank you very much. Okay, and the next item on the agenda is the superintendent's update, Mr. Schoonover.
All right, so something that I wasn't sure if I shared it with you a month or two ago when we learned of it, but Somerset Berkeley Regional High School was, for the second year in a row, named an AP, received the AP honor roll. Did I share this with you earlier? Okay, I couldn't remember if I did or not, I couldn't find it in my notes. So I just wanted to clarify that. Second, hopefully the weather holds out for us this week, and it looks like we were in for some mixed weather Wednesday night to Thursday morning. It's looking like maybe more of a rain event, I hope, than anything. So on Thursday night, we do have Dr. Jill Walsh from Boston University, who will be coming to Somerset Middle School to give a presentation for parents and really anyone who's interested, teachers, administrators, members of the community. And she will be talking about really the impact, both positive and negative, of social media and devices on kids, on adolescents, and even pre-adolescents. She's a researcher, so it's really the presentation of all of the research out there that shows what the impact is on kids. I've seen her give similar presentations twice now. Every time I leave there learning something new and worried about what effect this has on our students, particularly in school. So she'll be, when I've seen her, it's been more focused on administrators, but this is more focused on parents and how to have conversation with their kids. When should they introduce devices and what kind of controls they can have and so on. So it should be a helpful presentation. That's at, I want to say, oh boy, is it 6 or 6:30? I'm forgetting now which time it is. I think it's at 6:30 on Thursday at the middle school. Thank you very much, Robert. And the only other thing I know, just in terms of happenings here, our students, our current freshmen, sophomores, seniors, juniors, not seniors, are choosing their classes for next year. So that always happens right before February vacation. We should have those numbers by the end of this week. And then really the only task after that is to figure out from our 8th graders what their course selections are for next year. So that's always an ongoing work this time of the year, which happens at the same time where we're building the budget and trying to figure out what the needs are for certain courses as we're going down these parallel tracks with the budget. So that's also happening. Okay. Am I missing anything, Dr. Brailsford, that any other happenings around? I think Ryan got everything else, right?
Ryan does an excellent.
Thank you.
That's all for now. Thank you.
Can I just, a follow-up on Thursday at 6 p.m. Unfortunately, there are people.
6:30.
6:30. No, 6. 6. Is it 6? Well, whatever time, because I can't be here. Are we allowed to, record it? I don't know if she allows it, because I'm just looking at it, this is a great thing for SATV to,
I can ask her
because if we could publicize it on, so parents can see it at their own leisure, and maybe even something that we can push out to parents on a one-call, the video that we can store. I just think it's so, as Ryan mentioned only even a few months ago about how phones are affecting kids at the high school level. I'm just wondering, this might be something that elementary students, parents with elementary kids should start already planning out.
And that's the thing, so I've shared this with all 5 principals who have shared it with their PTOs. So we're really trying to get all of our parents informed about this, and with honestly a particular focus on elementary students, because that's where this stops.
Well, again, if
So-
we're able
But if
to
we-
capture it,
I'll
it would
ask
be
her if we
great.
can record
And
it.
it might not be something that we can do, but I'm hoping that, how everyone's lives are busy when they can be in their car driving somewhere, not driving, but as a passenger can be listening to it.
Yeah, I know when we've had presenters come in the past, a lot do not
Allow.
allow us to do that, because then why can some other district pay the money to have them
Yep.
come in if they can just watch the whole presentation online, so, but I will ask.
Anything else? Okay, moving along, the next item on the agenda is a staffing update.
All right, you have just, there are a few appointments there. We have a few food service workers and a special education van driver who were recently appointed. And I can't recall if it was the Somerset Berkeley meeting or Somerset meeting when I mentioned that about the need for van drivers, and we had such a great response. Mr. Rosario interviewed. He received dozens of inquiries, interviewed a number of people, and we've been able to hire at least one for now, and I know that there are others, I believe, who he is considering or who he has also met with. So that was just wonderful that Mr. Austin was able to put that message out for us. It really benefited us quite well. So thank you, George. There are no resignations to report this month.
Thank you, Mr. Schoonover. The next item on the agenda are updates from the K-8s. Who wants to tell us about Somerset?
You want it, or you want me?
You could go ahead.
All right. Since my voice isn't hurting.
So I don't cough to death, I appreciate that.
At the last meeting, we had our financial statements, and we also had an opportunity to meet with the selectmen to discuss the state of the town regarding the budget, and also we are looking for potential getting a legal opinion on our school budget and warrant numbers. So we had a little quick discussion on that. We did have an update by the superintendent for our budget. We did discuss things about there could be possible necessary cuts, the possibility of redistricting, adding AI, new positions, new programs, and things like that. We also had, this past Saturday, we had a town meeting that approved both of our feasibility studies, one for the MSBA project that we've been accepted into, or invited into, I should say, for the windows at South and North, and then the town also approved us to look in at the possibility of adding walls, updating our HVAC system at North Elementary as well. We had an updated from our superintendent with the appointments and resignations. And the other thing is we also got a determination by the state that we did not violate open meeting law. Our Chase Street windows had an update. We're hoping, quote, I'll believe it when I see it, at Chase it may be completed in the February vacation, and we also received the grant for our elementary balcony repairs. We were very fortunate to receive some donations from Feinstein Foundation for South and Chase Elementary. We received a wheelchair and also a food pantry donation by Stop and Shop. And that was it. And on behalf of the committee, we thank the citizens of Somerset for supporting our feasibility studies. And we'll hopefully get that up and running. That's it. Unless I missed something.
No, I
Ms.
think you got it all.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Machado. Ms. Solomon is not here this evening. The only thing she gave me to share was that, sort of related to budget, the Berkeley Town Administrator has asked their departments to limit their budget increase to 1.2%, which we know is not possible, but just sharing that with that is the ask or the directive from Town Administrator. So their K-8 will be working on that. And otherwise, I don't know what's happening in Berkeley. Okay, the next item on the agenda, topics not anticipated. I have nothing. Does anyone have anything? Okay. Action items for future meetings. Anything?
I would like to see if on March 4th, I could just invite Jess Willett from our CPAC, just to give the school committee an update on the CPAC has been running, and they've been, holding meetings and trying to get some parent involvement. We also will be under a DESI review year, and I know that they like to see that the school committee and the CPAC interact, so I'm being proactive, and I know Jess is available on the March 4th date, if that would work for you. It would be just a quick update, for Jess to say hello and kind of let you know how CPAC is going this year.
That'd be great. We welcome that. Thank you for being proactive.
You mentioned
Oh, that's
March-
the Somerset
That's a
meeting.
Somerset date. That's
That
just
is
so.
the Somerset date, so I will work on a Somerset Berkeley date, but on March 4th, I will invite her to Somerset and work on I think the next date would be, because I wouldn't want to do it during our budget season, I was trying to look at dates that would be convenient. Potentially the April 8th date for Somerset Berkeley after all our budget hearings.
We will be happy to meet with her whenever it works for her at whatever next regularly scheduled meeting we have, so.
Thank you, I'll
if you
follow
share
up
our
with Jess
dates
and
with
work
her,
on a date.
We'll book that.
Thank you.
If, Madam Chair, if you could add, I was just wondering how the turf project is looking into, I know we haven't received high level, nothing into details. And if it needs to be postponed to other meetings, that's fine as well.
Turf, CPAC. Anything?
Could I just jump in and ask that we revisit the AV situation for Zooming somebody into a meeting, because the audio is absolutely horrendous. Like, I keep getting closer to my computer because you're all on maximum volume and I can barely hear what's being said. So it's a problem. We need to fix it. I didn't want to share my terms with you, which is why I chose to do this meeting remotely. I think in 2025 we need to make this happen.
Absolutely. I have a question for, policy? Do you have a subcommittee meeting
We
scheduled?
do. Let me refresh my memory. Where is it? The 5th, March 5th.
March 5th, okay.
Yes. On the region side, yes.
So, for, sorry, just looking at a calendar. So you would maybe have some recommendations for the 11th, or? if
Yeah, we should.
That's the public hearing, we
That's
could
public.
actually maybe bump it to the next one, but,
Yeah. What's the next one?
or the 25th, I mean, there's
Yeah.
2 meetings after that in March, so,
Yeah,
okay, great. All right.
yeah, so if there's anything that you want reviewed, let us know, the actual, like, if there's any policies you want us to specifically work on, other than what we already
Actually,
have.
may I ask a question regarding that? I was going to ask you about a future item, and I know we've talked in the budget subcommittee meetings about graduation requirements, and the last school committee meeting as well, I think it was the last one. If we consider graduation requirements, changing those in any way, is that something that would be best done first through the policy subcommittee and then to the full committee, or is that more of a topic, that specific thing, that should just be addressed right from the get-go with the entire committee? I was thinking the latter, but
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure what that.
I think it would be easier for the full committee to discuss before policy, just so,
You
as
got it.
the policy, exactly, so we kind of know the wishes of the full committee to be able to work on a policy instead of having to come and then change it if others are feeling differently, I would think. Does that make sense?
I always support full committee on everything, so that's just the way I always feel. But before you do present it to us, I would like, we did hear from our student, not the student rep, but our student recorder, about some issues or questions or likes that she would like to see. I would like the administration to first focus on the school council, not the school council, but the students, the student government or the
We're
representatives.
actually meeting with them tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah, it would be nice if you can get some of their input before you
That's
bring
the
it to
one.
us, because we all have
I
strong,
was there last week.
we all have strong opinions on what should and should not be on there, and I think first hearing it from you, and then we can share our concerns as a whole. In a policy, you might only be getting a small window of views and what it should or should not be.
Yeah,
So-
and with the policy subcommittee, most of the policies that are done there, it's really looking at MASC recommendations, some minor changes, and when you're looking at graduation requirements, it really is unique to the individual school, and I don't know, my preference is that it's more of a global conversation than isolated with 2 members.
And I don't know how everyone else feels. I would love to know what our local schools, like our local communities, like I'm sure you could probably send a quick email to all your
Do you
superintendents.
have that information
I
already?
already got it, I already did that.
I love you. Never mind, carry on.
I think, all right, so it sounds like the wishes of the committee are to consider a discussion on graduation requirements, and would it make sense to wait till April 8th meeting? We have a lot of budget stuff going on in March, I think it can wait till April for the initial discussion, and then we can go from there.
I agree.
We're obviously not gonna change anything for,
So is it-
current seniors are good, current juniors, right, so it would be,
Then we
okay.
can just schedule another budget subcommittee after that to
Okay.
work on policy.
I know one thing, Ms. Ashley remind me, one of the things that came up in budget subcommittee was a look at our policy on Chromebooks.
Yep.
Both, like in terms of the cycle, right, and maybe also the insurance piece and the revolving fund, so I think that would probably be should start with the policy subcommittee, it's fairly contained. I think those were the 2 that graduation requirements.
And
Chromebooks.
if one more, if we could ask the administration to reach out to Fall River regarding the phone pouches that they're using, that's
The
magnetic.
octopus pouches.
So, because it's working quite well there, so, and that's a major city, and I'm sure they got some parents concerned about A, B, and C, but it seems like it's working out quite well. Students are more engaged, and they're seeing some improvements in, how the students are acting in school and results and things like that, so.
And at a conference that we were at last week, we're speaking with the Bristol Warren administrative team, and they've also implemented the under pouches, and they're also seeing some pretty good gains in just engagement among students, similar to what Florida has expressed.
And I would like that both, not only for the students, but staff as well, because I believe they're doing, the only difference is one's magnetic and one's Velcro. So it has to be not do what I'm told, but everyone should be following that same policy. So.
Am I imagining that there was some consideration that there might be, from the legislature, suggestions about a cell phone policy to affect all students?
The Attorney General has filed bills with the House and the Senate to restrict cell phones in schools entirely. I don't know if that is including yonder pouches, devices like that to have them, or just they are not allowed in schools, but there is some legislation that's been submitted by the AG.
Okay. Any other items? Ms. Ashley, I don't know if you can hear me. Any other items? Okay. The next item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the open session minutes of January 14th, 2025. They're in your packet. Does anyone have any issues or questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the open session minutes of January 14th, 2025 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Machado and seconded by Ms. O'Brien. We'll do anything further on discussion. We'll do a roll call. Ms. Ashley?
Aye.
Ms. O'Brien?
Aye.
Ms. Ferrera?
Aye.
Mr. Machado?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The next item on the agenda is public input. Do we have any public input this evening?
Of course. I just want to compliment everyone. I've been bugging the crap out of everybody, asking for facts and figures and everything else, but, when we go to town meeting, I like to know what I'm talking about, I like to know what I'm voting on. And what we just went through this past town meeting, trying to get, the passed and everything, I just want to say to people in the town, you don't get it. I'm watching you guys. I'm watching what you put your heart and soul into this, trying to make us all happy, to keep our taxes down. And I just want to compliment all of you. And I just wish more people, instead of saying the things that they say on social media, were to come and see all the hard work you're putting into it. So, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. The nicest public input we've had in a long time. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any other public input? Mr. Austin? You always get a special invitation, Mr. Austin.
I'm going to say this as a citizen as well, but also as a school committee. What you just heard Ms. Steele say is, she complimented us, but we also have to compliment her because she's not on social media ripping us apart. She comes here and asks the question. I think that is the biggest piece that I appreciate. We may not always agree, but what I'm saying, it's easier to say it, but at least it's when you come here and you listen to us speak or watch us on TV, if you do have a question, reach out to us because we're going to respond to you. So kudos to you as well, not only one way. It works when there is communication and it's just not on behind the keyboard ripping everyone apart. So I think you're also deserve the kudos because you do question us and you do challenge us, and that's a good thing. So
Maybe we can ask our selectmen if somebody from the Finance and Advisory Board could come to some of these meetings and see.
we have one right behind you.
I know. That's what I kind of said. Because we heard from the selectmen a couple weeks ago, and they gave us the charge, I'm sure Berkeley also gave you the charge. You gotta keep it low. But I know that everybody's doing the best they can without sacrificing services to the kids.
Thank you. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect